In a landmark decision that has sent shockwaves through Washington and across the globe, the U.S. Supreme Court has sided with former President Donald Trump, allowing his administration to withhold over $4 billion in foreign aid that was previously approved by Congress, raising significant questions about the balance of power between the executive and legislative branches and its potential consequences for global diplomacy. On September 26, 2025, the court issued a 6-3 ruling that permitted the freeze of funds intended for international programs, including United Nations peacekeeping operations and democracy promotion initiatives, with the conservative majority emphasizing that executive authority in foreign affairs outweighs the concerns raised by plaintiffs challenging the freeze, while Justice Elena Kagan and two other liberal justices dissented, warning that using the emergency docket for such a critical constitutional issue undermines the separation of powers and sets a dangerous precedent for the future. Central to this controversy is the rarely used pocket rescission tactic, which allows the president to effectively cancel funds by letting them expire without congressional approval, a maneuver that the Trump administration leveraged to withhold nearly $5 billion in aid, arguing that dispersing the funds would contradict U.S. foreign policy objectives. However, critics, including international aid organizations, argue that this action violates federal law and jeopardizes essential humanitarian programs, such as food assistance, medical aid, and development projects in some of the world's most vulnerable regions, raising concerns about the human impact of frozen aid. The global implications of this decision are immense, as nations in Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America that depend on U.S. support face uncertainty, with many diplomats and aid workers expressing concern that this move could erode trust in U.S. commitments abroad and embolden adversaries seeking to challenge American influence, potentially reshaping diplomatic relationships and altering the United States' role on the international stage. Domestically, the ruling has sparked intense debate, with supporters arguing that it affirms presidential authority in foreign affairs and restores constitutional balance, while opponents caution that allowing the president to unilaterally override congressional spending decisions undermines legislative oversight and the foundational checks and balances within the federal government, fueling a broader discussion on the limits of executive power. As the fiscal year deadline approaches, the fate of the withheld funds remains uncertain, with the Supreme Court's decision effectively preventing their disbursement before expiration, igniting conversations about the future of U.S. foreign aid policy and its impact on international relations, while aid organizations and governments scramble to anticipate the consequences of potential funding gaps in critical humanitarian and development programs. With global eyes watching closely, the coming weeks will be crucial in determining how this decision affects diplomatic trust, the balance of power within the U.S. government, and the ability of the United States to maintain its position as a leader in global humanitarian efforts, emphasizing the tension between domestic politics and international responsibility. As this story unfolds, It highlights not only the legal and political intricacies of executive authority, but also the very real human consequences of frozen aid, reminding us that the decisions made in Washington reverberate far beyond U.S. borders, affecting millions of lives worldwide and raising urgent questions about how nations navigate the complex interplay between law, policy, and humanitarian needs, making it a pivotal moment in both American governance and global diplomacy, and one that will likely shape discussions on the role of executive power and congressional oversight for years to come.